lesson 17.2 is on adding polynomial expressions. And there's no vocabulary for this. There's two ways to do it. So I'm going to teach both ways. I don't care which way you choose. Whatever way sticks in your head that you like, you can do. Example 1 is using the vertical format. So vertical is up and down. So we're going to be adding polynomials going up and down. So for 1a, we're going to find the sum. Remember, the word sum means to add. Whenever you see find the sum, that's going to be your cue that you're adding these things. So we're going to find the sum of 5x squared plus 2x minus 1. So there's a polynomial. And then we're going to add that to 4x squared minus x plus 2. Now this one is written nice and pretty. All the like terms are stacked on top of each other. So each term, remember, it stops whenever you hit a plus or minus sign. So there's 3 terms. That's a trinomial on top. There's 3 terms here, so I have another trinomial. When it's vertical, I want the like terms on top of each other. So the x squareds, they're on top of each other. The x's are on top of each other. The constants are on top of each other. So everything is stacked up nice and easy for this one. We're just going to add our like terms. If I have 5 of these x squareds, and then I add 4 more of them. 5 plus 4 is 9. So I have 9 x squareds. I have 2 x's, and then I take away an x. If I have 2 x's and I take away an x, I just have 1 x left. If I have a minus 1 and a plus 2, a negative 1 plus 2 is positive 1. And there's your sum. However, most of the time that's not going to be, everything's not stacked right on top of where it needs to go. So that's the tricky part. Yeah. Okay, 1b now. 3y cubed plus 2y plus 1 plus y squared minus 1. So now this is one where it's a little bit trickier because the like terms are not stacked on top of each other. So some of you can do this in your head. I'm going to rewrite it though for those people that actually need to see the stacked terms. So this one that has a degree of 3, this monomial right here, there's no other degrees of 3. I know I'm going to have a degree of 2 next, but that top line doesn't have any degree of 2. So I'm going to either leave it blank, or you can put in that there's 0 of those y squareds. On this top line, there's no y squareds. Then my next degree is a degree of 1. So a letter that has no exponent really has the exponent of 1. So I have 2 y's. And I have a plus 1. So 3y cubed plus 2y plus 1 is the same as this. The bottom one, there's no y cubes. So if you want to put in a placeholder of that there's 0 of them, you can. You don't need to. Most of you could probably do this in your head and not write that part down. There is a y squared, so I'm going to stack that right underneath the other y squared. There's no y's that are by itself down here. So there's no y's, and there is a minus 1. So if it helps you to write it like that, obviously go ahead and do that. Or a lot of times what I do is I leave blanks. I just leave it blank wherever, and then I just don't see it. Okay, now add all your like terms just going straight down vertically. If I have 3y cubes and then I have none to add to it, I end up with 3y cubes. No y squareds plus a y squared is just a y squared. If I have 2 y's and then I don't add any more y's, I still have 2 y's. Plus 1 and minus 1 end up being 0. I don't need to put plus 0. You can just leave the plus 0 right off of that because it's redundant. If you put it on a test, I wouldn't mark it wrong. It's fine. You can put plus 0, you just don't need to. Mm-hmm. Yes. Add it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It gets confusing when we get to subtraction. Okay, now we're going to do some on your own. Number 1, negative x squared minus 1 plus 4x squared minus x. Go ahead and find the sum. I add 4x. If I have a negative 1 and a positive 4, I now have 3x squareds. There were no x's, and I took away an x, so I have a negative x, and then I have a minus 1. Questions there? You can, but a lot of your directions are going to say write your answer in standard form, and the 1 has a degree of 0, so you always want the constant at the very end. Okay, number 2, negative z cubed minus 2z minus 1 plus 2z cubed minus z squared plus 2z. Okay, find the sum, combine your like terms. Z cubed, if I have a negative 1 and a positive 2, I now have a positive 1z cubed. I have a z squared. I had a negative 2z and a positive 2z, so that I have 0 z's now. So I don't need to put 0 z's, because that's just 0. And then I have a minus 1. Okay, another one. X minus 1 plus 4x minus 6. Find the sum. 5x minus 7. Questions there? Okay, so that was vertical, and now we'll practice horizontal. Horizontal is the one I use the most. Five x squared plus 2x plus 1. Add that to negative 4x squared minus x minus 2. So the horizontal format, I just look for my like terms. So I usually just circle them first. So I have 5x squareds, and I have negative 4x squareds. Eric, are you not writing down? So go get a pen or pencil. So I always go by the biggest degree first. So the degree of 2 goes first. So if I have 5x squareds, and then I take away 4 of them, I now have just 1x squared. I cross them off after I use them so I don't get confused. You can do whatever works for you, but that's just what works for me. So I go through it, I circle each like term, then I cross off. So after x squared, so that has a degree of 2. Now I'm going to move on to my degree of 1. So when I have a letter by itself, it really has a degree of 1. So now I have my 2x's and I take away an x. 2x's take away 1x is just 1x. And the last thing I do is my degree of 0. So constants have a degree of 0. Numbers by itself, they have a degree of 0, so they go last. So I have a positive 1 and a negative 2. 1 take away 2 is negative 1. Okay, let's try that one again. 2b. Negative ab plus b plus ab minus a. Okay, if it helps, because I know for you guys you're not used to seeing polynomials. So a lot of times I box each term so that your brain can see them and distinguish which ones go with which ones. So every time you hit a plus or minus sign, you stop. So there's a term. Here is a term. Here is a term. Here is a term. So the symbol in front of it sticks with it. Okay, now hopefully your brain can kind of see what goes together. So ABs go with other ABs. So they have to have the exact same letters with the exact same exponents. So these two will be like terms. If I have negative AB and I add AB. So if I have negative 1 AB and now I have a positive 1. Negative 1 plus 1 means 0. So I have 0 ABs. So I don't need to write it. If you write it, that's fine. HMH will probably mark you wrong though. I'm not positive. Okay, next we do the degree of 1. So B has a degree of 1 and A has a degree of 1 because they really have little 1s in there. If they have the same degree, typically we just go in alphabetical order then. So let's do the A's first. There's no other A's. This is the only A I have. So just a minus A because you keep the symbol in front of it. And B is just by itself. It doesn't combine with anything. Or you could do B minus A. Okay, so for the rest of these, you can do horizontal, or if you prefer vertical, you can do vertical. Okay, on your own, number 4. Find the sum of negative 6x squared plus 2 and negative 4x squared. Find the sum. If I have negative 6 and negative 4, I have negative 10 of those x squareds. And then I have a plus 2. Questions there? Okay, number 5. Negative x cubed plus 2. Add that to negative 4x cubed plus y plus x. Find the sum. 1 minus 4, negative 1 minus 4 is negative 5. I have negative 5x cubes. From here, I have to go by my biggest degree. So this had a degree of 3. The next biggest degree, there's no 2. The next one is the 1s that are on the variables. So it doesn't matter which one you put first. Typically, when they have the same degree, we just go in alphabetical order. So x comes before y, so I'm going to do all my x's. There's only one x there. There's only one of these y's. And then our constants go last because they have a degree of 0. So we're still writing it in standard form, from the biggest degree to the lowest degree. Okay, last one. Y minus 7 plus 3y plus 18. Find the sum of those two polynomials. I have a negative 7 and a positive 18. That's positive 11. Questions? Okay, last thing is word problems. Now the word problems will give you the equation. So it's very wordy, kind of a pain, but then they give you the equation. So it says there's a box company and they own 2 factories in different parts of the country. The profit for each factory is modeled by the polynomial where x represents the number of boxes they produce. Solve by adding the polynomials. Okay, so the first factory makes this profit, the second factory makes this profit. What's the polynomial for their total profit? Logan, go sit down. What is their total profit? So it's just asking you to add them up. So the profit from the first company is negative 0.03x squared plus 20x minus 500. So they're going to give you this in the word problem. You don't need to come up with this yourself. So that's the profit from the first company. Plus the profit from the second company is negative 0.04x squared plus 25x minus 1,000. And then it asks for what's the total profit. So go ahead and add up your like terms. Again, you can do it horizontally, or if you prefer to write it you can write it vertically, or if you want to write it horizontally. Whatever makes sense for you. So you're putting all of your x squareds together first. So if I have negative 0.03 and then I have a negative 0.04, together I have negative 0.07 of those x squareds. I had 20 x's and then I had 25 x's. So altogether I have 45 x's. And then negative 500 minus 1,000 is negative 1,500. So that would be the answer. And then it says, the company plans to open a third factory with this profit. What will the total profit be now? So now we're going to add this next, the third company, to this. So you have your answer from above. So this is the total from company 1 and company 2. Now we're going to add a third company. So this is example 3B. I'm just going to put it right underneath it. That third company, we're going to add their profit, which is negative 0.03 x squareds plus 50 x's minus 100. So I'm going to take the total that I got from my answer above and just add on this next company. So if I have negative 0.07, and now I have negative 0.07, and then I subtract 0.03, I have negative 0.1 x squareds. Well, you're adding a negative and a negative. So put in negative 0.07 plus negative 0.03. Yeah, because I know that adding a negative is the same as subtracting. So I probably said subtracting, but it's adding the minus. 45 plus 50, that's 95 x's. And then negative 1,500 plus negative 100 is negative 1,600. And there's your final answer.